Welcome to the chopping block. In this segment, I ask you guys to come onto the show and dissect your team. And in the hot seat, putting his team on the chopping block is my good friend, S.Couri. Steph, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
And now, as you guys can see, he's a Manu fan. I know, I had a Liverpool fan just now a Manu fan. I know the kind of friends I keep. I know, but these are my friends. What do you want me to do, right? With friends like these, who needs enemies, right? so, so Curry. Without further ado, Curry, explain your team, please, from goalkeeper down to yourselves. What was your thinking process?
All right, so with keepers in this particular fantasy, my first thing is always just like cheapness
Right.
because I'll if I really want to try and work on getting real keeper points, I'm gonna do that like later on. I'm not worried about that at the start or like the first week or two. I just trying to make sure that the keeper not stopping me from filling out the rest of the team that I want. Right?
Okay.
So my keepers to start always gonna be like 4 million, 4.5, something like bare minimum. So then what I tend to do is I pick like my most expensive defender, most expensive midfielder, and most expensive forward, right? Which I think in this case would have been Diaz, Bruno,
Right.
and then Kane, right? That should have been like the three most expensives in those positions.
Correct.
Then I tend to lean a bit midfield heavy. So once I have those most expensives, I would then go to my to the rest of the midfield selection and usually pick like two players that I think uh, maybe not so much like a risk, but people who I willing to kind of like gamble on being worth their money going forward, right? So clearly, like I'm a United fan, I decided to take a gamble on Sancho
Right.
because I think that he will like hit the ground running pretty well. So I got him, and then I'm a sucker for if somebody was like a tried and true, never let me down kind of player.
Right.
And last year, Socek was that player, and
Correct.
so I
Correct.
was you earn your spot, buddy, instantly back in the team. So then I look at the defense because that's more players than like the forwards. So looking at the defense, I was like, all right, Diaz is kind of like my marquee defender. I only really need one other marquee defender, and I was really thinking about getting Varane,
Right.
but he not in the game as yet.
Right.
So I was like, you know what? I'll put Maguire, or as we like to call him, Slabhead. I'll put him on the team for now, and then when that like import to the game happens, I'll probably swap him out. If it doesn't happen before like the right time, then I'll just go with Maguire. Then I went with two other kind of defenders that worked pretty well for me recently, and that was Tarkovsky and Bednarek. So I was like, I feel pretty comfortable with them, just their kind of output on a weekly basis. So I said I'm gonna put the two of them back in, and then
Right.
I always typically leave a spot as like a gamble spot, and so my defensive gamble was White
Right. Right.
because I was like, I'm hoping that with all of the like, oh, we can't believe this happened and blah 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 and money and this and that, that it's like, okay, I'm gonna come out like performing.
Correct.
So that's the defense set. So then to finish out the midfield, I like Leeds. I like their play a lot last season. So I did want to bring somebody from there back on. So I brought on Dallas
Yeah. Yeah. Good show.
because I I don't know, like they're a scoring team, but I feel like their strikers are not the most consistent. So I was like, I'd rather just get a mid from there. So I got Dallas. Then I needed something to put around Kane. because there's a big hole of money, right? Like
True.
that's real money to spend there. So I
That's
needed
not too many.
somebody who I thought had a high upside, but is not like a super expected scorer, so they're not gonna be super expensive. So I went with Richarlison, and then I'm hoping maybe this might be the year Fabio Silva kind of breakthrough.
Yes,
If he
yes.
doesn't have like the change of management, I don't know if maybe that'll like spur him into doing something. But so my forward gamble was Fabio Silva, and then it might sound weird to say that my midfield gamble is Telema, the way that he has been playing, like and in great form and that kind of thing. The reason that he's the gamble to me on this is for the midfield is because I really don't know how well that team gonna play.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
like that's what I'm not sure about. So I think he's a great player, but I don't know how the team gonna play. So I was like, I like him a lot. I really don't mind having him on my team. So you know what? I'll just use the gamble spot for him. And yeah, I mean that's pretty much the team as it is right now. Of course, everybody is eyeing up the transfer window because it's been going crazy the last few days.
Correct.
So some of these spots could get swapped out, especially like I said with my defender. But for the most part, if I had to start with this team, I'd be happy.
All right. Well, let me see. What holds can I pick first? Well, of course, you know my policy. I don't ever pick Arsenal, man. At least not so early in the season. I have
Mm,
no faith
mm.
in them. They are inconsistent.
I'm glad you, the Arsenal person, brought that up. Because what I was going to say before was I don't ever buy Arsenal defenders,
Right, right.
right? Because I believe they're like incapable of keeping clean sheets, basically. So that's why my gamble spot, surprisingly enough, is an Arsenal player, but it's because it's a new player.
But you see, certain Arsenal fans, Corey, will jump out and say, "But we were third defensive best year, and last year third defensive best, blah blah blah." Smalls. I don't want to hear that. I
Yeah,
know, right?
that might be true in the stats, but I can't remember ever looking at them playing throughout the season and feeling like their defense was doing something.
Correct, correct.
So I didn't have much faith in it, but it's a real gamble there. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
know, but as I say, I wish it the best. Any more holds? I mean, I generally fairly, I agree with most of your picks here. These are decent picks. Tarkovsky would have normally, like 2, 3 years ago, would have been a sure start for me. This Begner guy is really good. He was great last season. He was an unsung hero. He was under
how
the
um
radar.
how do you feel about me going two in the midfield from United?
Well, again, you see, you just like Paul backs Liverpool, you back Man U, your teams are doing well. You all have good players, and these guys are going to perform, and they perform on a consistent basis. I did hear some talk, people, like amongst fans, that they're saying Fernandez not going to perform as good this season. He had a bad Euros. That's super talk. I think he's going to pick up right where he left off last season.
Yeah, I think he had a bad Euros because of the structure of the Portugal team. I don't
That's it.
think that he was like out of form or anything like that. I think that team is just not the best thing for him
Correct.
and his style of play.
His style of play. Correct,
Yeah,
correct. Yeah, I agree. The only key there, the only problem I'll highlight for you, and then this is for like newbies as well, the new people to fantasy football. Richarlison. Now, players like him, now you already know where I'm going with this, but players like him, you have to be careful because he's on international duty right now. So he's not guaranteed to start, not even the first 3 games. But the reason Steph would have picked him is again the price points. You have to save these men
yeah,
and have them down early. You could always tinker after and get other men, but
yeah.
these guys are
And the
going to
thing with
score.
Richarlison too is he is a wild man.
That's it.
Like he is very likely to get you some cards throughout the season. But like I was saying for that spot, I wanted a low enough price point, but somebody who have a decently high ceiling. And I
Yes.
feel like if he has a great season, his ceiling is pretty high. But buying him now isn't really not that expensive.
No, no, no. It's not, yeah. And then That's not a yeah. That's no big deal there. Fabio Silva broke my heart last season, but it's not his fault. I believed in him. Curry, I had him in my team for most of the second half, especially when that boy got injured.
Yeah,
Neves, I believe it
that
was.
actually that actually kind of broke my team last season when he got his face broken.
Yeah, boy.
Like because he was probably like I could have relied on him
Correct.
like week in
Correct.
week out,
Week in, week out.
and then your
It
boy come and
yeah.
crack his face open, and my team just like never recovered after that.
Same, same. Because I had Bowley in my defense for the longest while, and just one guy was lost, and that was it. Everything went to crap. Yeah, boy.
Yeah.
Well, other than that, your team looks fairly good. I have no qualms, nothing. I'm watching. I'm by Sunday. This whole team's going to change. You know how it is, and next week is going to be hectic. Before I let you go, any advice for the newbies? Any advice for anyone that's now starting? And what's your just one piece of advice? Something you wish you knew your first year you was playing fantasy.
Um, if like so, if I could like go back and give myself some advice from what I've learned, is you really need to like not play with your heart when it comes to fantasy, right? Because even though, yeah, you could say I have three United players on this team right now, right? And that's the max you can have from any one team. And you could easily say that that's a like a heart play, but that's honestly because I was always going to pick Bruno. I think Sancho is really going to have a big impact, at least to start. And I think with their additions, they're going to be title contenders. So I think they're going to be performing week in, week out. But like, there's always some player that you like as a player that doesn't translate to fantasy. And that's one of the easiest ways I think to like keep yourself back by you just trying to like nurse this player who they may be great, but all every kind of player doesn't translate to fantasy. So you have to keep that in mind also, because there are tons of really great defensive midfielders that
Correct.
I'll never pick in this particular fantasy because they don't score points for what they do in the game.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But they could be one of the players that I like love the most. But you can't let that be what guides your decision making as best as possible.
Exactly. Yeah. And there you have it, folks. Great advice. Well, Curry, thanks for coming on and hope to have you on for future shows. Thanks very much. Guys, thanks
No
for
man,
watching. Ah, Lord. All right, time to go, time to go, time to go.